So here we are, it's a beautiful morning. I'm excited. We're going to get in the car, drive about 6 hours, and we're going to get ourselves to Bishop. We're going to cross Lake Tahoe over the Sierras and do a scouting first, figure out what our locations are, and then we're going to shoot tonight, sunset, and then again tomorrow, sunrise, before we come back to San Francisco. We're going to do 2 background plates, one that has our talent in there, and one that we're going to do backplate only and capture the hero a couple of days from now. Yeah. Oh, well, it's 2 different things, right? If I create a picture for myself, it often starts with a location that I've seen before. So often it's like this picture. I've been wanting to shoot pictures around Bishop for a long time, driving by it. So then there's a memory of a place that I've been drawn to. So wherever I go, right, you collect the memory bank of places that you would like to take pictures. And then you come back to it, or you scout it yourself. Or I think if I'm road tripping or going somewhere, I always look at places. And sometimes I stop and take landscape pictures if it's perfect. So here we are in Owens Valley, not far from Bishop. I'm really excited. I've been driving through this area for years really, and always been so attracted to these trees that come up and the texture of the landscape, and then these mountains in the background. So I'm really kind of excited to be here finally, to create an image that I feel really good about. The few things that I look for when I do what's called a technical scout. We've already done the scout prior, having someone come out to survey the area and give us a general idea. On the technical scout, we go on our own prior to determine if it's a sunrise or sunset location, where the camera would be, so that we're really prepared. There's a few things that you won't see from scouting pictures. What if there's a fence? What if there's small little things that would be in the way? All those things you can sort out or solve, or you do all those small little adjustments on the technical scout prior to the shoot. So that's why we're here. I'm standing on the ladder, and the reason for that is obviously that I want to get off the ground a little bit. We are going to lay these railroad tracks through the landscape. We talked about that, the story behind the guy that knows it all, the wise old man, the archetype of the guy that will give you some advice on your road. So we're going to have these tracks going through this landscape. Now, tracks, they usually sit off the landscape. First they have a little berm, little gravel, and then we have a cart on top of that. So we'll be probably 3-4 feet off the ground by the time we have the people on the cart. So I want to elevate myself to come up to that level. Now, I love these trees leading the eye into the picture, and what I imagine is for the tracks to come in here and curve. So they curve along the trees. And this will allow me to look at the couple. It's going to be this old guy and beautiful woman on the cart this way. So when I see them sort of sideways. The tracks come then in and they curve. So there will be 2 beautiful lines coming into the photograph and traveling into it to create the depth, and ending with those big mountains in the back. So when I stand in a place like this, I look at where the light comes up and where it goes down, obviously, to determine if I want to be here in the morning or afternoon. Now there's 2 considerations for this for me, because I'm doing 2 pictures. So we got to make some adjustments on what might be better, in the morning and afternoon for both. Then obviously the perspective, all this beautiful texture in the grass is here, and it will really help the eye lead its way through the photograph. So I'm looking for shapes now in the grass and how it travels. Found some open spaces to lay the tracks. I'm start with these to lead the eye into the photograph as well. So that's really what I'm doing, trying to find my way to absorb the place. And on the emotional level too, I try to just stand here and soak it up, just get a sense of the place and atmosphere, light quality, what would be the best for it, and what it would sort of say when I'm here. So that's kind of what I'm doing on a tech scout. I love this location on so many levels. I've shot these textures of grass over and over and over again. There's something poetic about how grass travels, how it moves in the wind and all that. More so for me in this location is the color palette. It has this dusty quality that we talked about that I wanted to portray in these photographs. So this time of year, you actually get accents of green, which I don't mind. It's sitting against those blue mountains. So I don't know how else to describe it. This landscape really speaks to me. It has openness, vastness, and then of course the barrier, or what that is, with the big mountains in the back. So a lot of times it's hard to define a specific reason for being drawn to a certain landscape or a certain subject matter. And this really just speaks to me, and I want to encourage you whenever you create your pictures to find what really talks to you when it comes to the landscapes and atmosphere you want to capture. Because I do this one thing, don't go out and try to do the same. Just think about how you respond to certain landscapes. Is there certain things that you're drawn to? Is it tight vegetation? Is it open vistas? Is it a quieter palette? Is it desert? Is it mountains? Find what really speaks to you as a person, and that's where you should go and create your pictures. That's where the amazing pictures are for you. For me, it's in this textural open landscape that sits there with these big mountains in the back. So that's why we're here, really, to try to capture something that I really resonate with. So I think we have accomplished what we came here for on this Tech Scout. We have seen the place, we know the parameters, we know what we want to accomplish, and I feel really prepared for what's going to happen here, most likely tomorrow morning when we show up with the full crew. I talked a little bit about the challenges, but we're going to solve all that stuff beautifully. So we're off to the next location. When we did the Scout, there was a few locations that I really loved. There was the tree line that we were just looking at, and now we're in front of this river. I thought, you know, when I looked at the scouting pictures, that I could do something that was completely open, just vast, just the texture of the grass and the mountains in the background, and then having the handcart coming through that landscape. I thought maybe it could be interesting to have a little bit of river coming into the frame, sort of where they bend the curve of the tracks. Maybe there could be a little river coming into the picture there. So that's why we're here. I don't think it's as beautiful as where we just were, looking at the tree line. So we're just gonna, check it out, see if there's any parts here we can use. Maybe we could add the river to the location that we were just at. Maybe as a standalone location, this is not as good as what we were just looking at. So we're gonna explore a little bit, make sure that we get all the things that we can, while we're scouting, and then make a decision afterwards. So when I make my pictures, I always think about what can be done better and what can add to the composition. When you looked at the landscape that I had in the past location, it was very heavy on the right side. The trees were all on the right and it was all open on the left. So the balance in the composition becomes a little heavy-handed on the right side. But I'd like to use the computer if I can, right, to my benefit. And I thought, what if I put a tree on the left side? That was my thought when I was there. But now I see this river. This is quite beautiful. And what if I lay this river on the left side so that it can balance with the trees on the right? It's quite fascinating. So I'm trying to build this picture in my mind as I go along, trying to find the pieces that can ultimately make something that's just absolutely stunning. So that's my mission. And we're going to explore the river a little bit further, see if we can find those pieces that could actually make it into the final picture. So if I choose to put this bend, this beautiful bend here in the river, into the photograph that we're going to capture up among the trees, they need to happen at the same time. So that poses an interesting question, right? How do we accomplish two locations that is about 10-15 minutes apart, at the same time? What I would do in this case is set up one tripod here in the morning, and then I'll go up there and set up another tripod, and I'll have Tom, my first assistant, shoot this picture while I'll shoot that, and then afterwards I'll combine the two. And I could show you some examples where I actually done this for commercial assignments where in one case I wanted to shoot the barn that was close, but the landscape further back was way prettier, and I ended up setting up two cameras just like this and combining the two in post. This is one of the benefits: one place, one light, then two places that doesn't quite fit in one picture, but then you can make them so on the computer. So this location here with the river is really growing on me. I was so set on those trees and those mountains because it's what I've seen every time driving by here. But now that I come here to this river, I'm really unsure of what I like better. There's just a softness to the grass that's beveling over this water edge here that's just, I don't know, it's just poetic. It's like the movie The River Runs Through It. It's all these sort of soft bends and the sensuality that I love to my photographs. So I got to sit down with these tonight a little bit and make up my mind of what I'd like to photograph, because this has qualities as well. Maybe I'll start with this and take the trees from over there and put them in here instead. We talked briefly about this, but the unmovable part is what I always start with. So I would start with the trees in that location if I like that the best and add the river. If I like this the best, I'll start with this plate and I'll add the trees. So I'm a little bit torn, to be honest. Just beautiful, beautiful places all over. All right, so this is what I think I decided to do. And it's another thing that I could teach you about coming upon locations and places that really talk to you, but it's not quite what you were there for. So what I want to try to do is to stick with the original plan, the picture that I had in my mind with these trees and these mountains, and do the picture with the railroad tracks coming through that landscape. But then also shoot this background and use it in a way so I could put another composite together at a later point. So I shoot this background now with a lower perspective, not as high as I would have been if I were to put the railroad tracks in it, and then focus on the foreground where I can imagine someone standing. Then I can make another story here, another photograph. I could photograph a fisherman or someone else that speaks to me and put them into this beautiful background. So we're going to shoot this also, put it in our image library and start thinking of another idea. So then we actually get 2 pictures accomplished here in this place. So I'm pretty excited about this, and we can talk more about that later when I give you the background plates, how you can create another composite. You get these files and you can put someone else that tells your story into this background. So one more tip I want to give you before we move on from here. If you have the opportunity to, if you have someone with you, it's a really great thing to shoot a real reference in that light and in that place where you want to do a composite. So instead of walking out of here blind, just imagining what the light would be on a person, I could actually shoot a real reference picture of a person in it. Then I would know how the light falls, how it stands, how the perspectives are, and I have then something I can really compare my composite to. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to grab one of the crew and we're going to put one person in there just for one quick frame so that I have that perfect reference of what this composite should look like. Cool? Let me see. Kind of on that berm there. You see that one, that lip that comes out? Yeah. Maybe right in front of it.
This first one?
Yeah, this first one.
Glasses on or off?
It doesn't matter. I just want to see how the light falls. It's a good picture of you, Rob. Yeah. Maybe try closer to me. Your face is completely underexposed though.
How to fix it?
Yeah. Then look out that way, just profile. Turn your body to it so I can see how the sun falls. Yep. Perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
All right.
You got your own portrait for the day too.
Right? Oh, man. Oh. This location in this image is for the horse, Western guy in big open landscape, standing there small in the landscape, pondering really what's next for him. Where is he going? What is he doing? All those things that relate to my story after my breakup, really. Looking out to this big vastness, wondering what's next. So that's the emotion that I start with. And then we have found this place, right, that just tells this story beautifully. I'm going to walk around for a minute. I'm going to look along the bluff here because this really speaks to the bigness, right? So I'm going to be along this cliff. A few of the things we talked about yesterday when it comes to the challenges for this location is getting the horse and the guy close to the edge. So I might shoot this in 2 pieces, me shooting a background plate and then shooting the horse is a little bit off the edge, but we'll see how comfortable the horse is. So that's the things we're looking for, and then we gotta just wait for the light, I think. We're still thinking about this later today or tomorrow morning, but it's a balance there. But I think we'll stay here tonight and then we'll shoot the train background in the morning. So I'll take you along for a little look around and then we'll find our places for this evening. So it's 5:30, about 2 hours away from sunset, and we have driven 6.5 hours from San Francisco to create 2 pictures here in Bishop, one tonight for sunset and another tomorrow morning for sunrise. And I got to now decide which of these 2 pictures that I want to create, the lone guy with the horse overlooking the Vista, or the old man on the rail cart coming through this landscape. It's not as easy because there's not one that's typical sunrise or the other typical sunset for the light that I like. They both actually sit here at sunset. So I'm thinking, you know, which picture could I make into a sunrise without going through too much trouble? The horse and our cowboy, they have already gotten here. So if I choose to shoot this tomorrow morning, which I kind of prefer to do, I would need to send them home and pay them to show up again tomorrow morning. And we would need to get all our crew down to the other landscape. So I'm sitting there thinking, how could I tell these stories without causing too much trouble for everyone? Now, this place here will be beautiful at sunset as well. So that's not the problem. The problem is that the other place would be beautiful at sunset as well. So I'm sitting there trying to think how I could shoot a sunset location beautiful in the morning. The solution there would probably be to shoot the lights just as it comes up. So I just get a little hint of sun on the top of these mountains back there and then call it a day. As the sun gets higher, people will be straight front lit, and that's not my kind of light. That's more the Helmut Newton fashiony sort of approach. Mine is way more romantic, and that romantic light quality I do get when things are a little bit more backlit and has more texture to it. So I'm just going to sit here and ponder for a minute and see how I could solve this and create the best possible pictures with the 2 locations and the 2 opportunities I have to create these. Now, the best thing would be obviously to stay an extra day, but we're on a mission here. We're going to create some beautiful pictures in a fairly short period of time, so we're going to make those decisions, and I'll explain to you how after, or why after, I chose to do what I did. Now, on my phone I have this app called Sunseeker, and it will allow me to point my phone to the sky and it will tell me the sun path. So I hold it like this and it shows me where the sun is now, and it will give me a chart or a graph about where it will sit. And it tells me now on the phone that it will set right over there a little bit before 7 o'clock. So that will give me, if I choose to shoot this tomorrow, we have about an hour and 15 or so to get ourselves from here down into the valley into that other location. So I just want to weigh that too as I sit here to make sure that I don't try to change location and then cut myself short on time. So that's what I'm doing. So I set myself up in a way that often happens to me when I do assignments, because often we take 3, 4, 5 pictures in the campaign and we do them in 3, 4 days so that we have one picture, we travel, we shoot another picture, and then we travel and we shoot a third. So I come into the exact same issues as I have now on commercial assignments. Then I do the same process where I weigh one location, one light quality against another and another light quality. So you have some honest production issues here that you will run into in your career for sure. So one of the options I have when it comes to the color palette and time of day I shoot this picture is to make it nighttime. I mentioned that briefly when we sat at my office about the props and the light quality and the color palette. We have a lantern, so we can make this bluer in tone versus the warmer textured dusty quality. So if I choose to stay here tonight, I'll probably go that route. Nighttime, really blue palette, big mountains. Maybe there's a lantern that spills some warm light on our character. So still contemplating the options I have in making this happen. So after thinking about this for a minute, we decided to leave here and go back to the location with the trees and create our picture there for the afternoon light and come back here in the morning. So I guess what we learned today is the importance of doing a tech scout, to not just plan on showing up a place and craft a picture, but really have the opportunity to go there first and find what's right for you and your aesthetic when it comes to light quality. So for me and what I like, we decided to come back here in the morning, and then we're going to go now this evening and shoot by the trees and get the trees backlit, have the sun streaming through those. And I think it'll be better for both the pictures that we're going to create. So off we go, we're packing up our stuff, and I'll see you down by the trees.